Neighbors know this shit get out of hand, but they smile, cause you've been so long without a man. And it won't be long till you're out of bands. The only thing you really need is a husband. The only thing you really need is a husband. The only thought you ever need is I trust him. All your dreams, all your goals, it's promised with this ring I have in my hands. The main thing a nigga got is these plans. Got a plan for us, got a plan to grow, got a plan for homes, got a plan for bad times, got a plan for good times, got a plan for hood times, got a plan for hood crimes, got a plan for trust, got a plan for lust, got a plan for Beverly Hills. You know that's where they at. You know that's where they at. Beverly Hills. You know that's where they at. I don't really wanna go back to that. If I do, I know I'm going back to back. Breaking backs to backs. Imagine that, that's so hazardous, so I handle that. All you really need is a husband. Show you loving. Let him touch you, let him rub you, let him hug you, let him thug you, let him hold you down. All you need is a husband who gon' touch you, who gon' rub you, who gon' hug you, who gon' kiss you, who gon' miss you with no issue, with no issue, and no issue.
Let me put this right here. So what you're about to witness is a non-verbal undermining. Okay? From someone who is gossamer, but is also a megalomaniac and is very delusional with that dynamic. So you have a weak person who wants total power and control over the situation and would play the victim card in the Karen role to sort of obfuscate things to just sort of throw people off. And so like, that's what we're witnessing. What we're witnessing from her is behavioral inference. So this is something that has been building up over time. This is a pattern of behavior, idiosyncrasies, behavioral inference from a megalomaniac, but someone who is obfuscating things with this sleight of hand when she's really gossamer. And so that's what's going on. So I'll play for you what she did. This is a non-verbal undermining. She did it last year to Breon January when Sophie Cunningham disrespected Breon January. They're trying to prevent the team from getting a technical, which is their job as assistant coaches. And so she's doing her job. And Sophie Cunningham wanted to constantly be out there acting silly so that she knew the cameras would be on her and Caitlin. They both knew it. And they were just looking for their moment to go viral somehow, some way. They knew someone would clip it and share it on TikTok, Twitter, wherever, and they could potentially go viral. So it was a clout chasing moment from both of them. And even Chloe Bibby tried to pull him back, Karima Christmas Kelly, and then as the lead assistant coach under Stephanie and Austin Kelly, Breon January said, we can't do that. We don't want to get it technical. And Sophie shoot her off and told her to get out of her face. And then Caitlin rolled her eyes at Breon January and then pointed at her and started saying something derogatory towards her way. And then this season, and then before that, she rolled her eyes at Breon January. So this season, we saw what happened. Total insubordination, total disrespect towards Breon January. That's your coach. That's not your head coach, but that's still your coach. That's one of your leaders. And that's someone who has achieved things you've never achieved professionally in the States and overseas. And so you have to be respectful. You have to honor that. And that's what mature adult people do. And that's not who she is, and that's not what she is. And so she saw how Sophie disrespected her. And so she was like, I can do it too. And that's what she did. So that was some mean girl bullying stuff from someone who's gossamer, from someone who's very, very weak and flimsy, very fragile, but likes to put on this facade as if she isn't. And that's a sleight of hand. Okay, that's obfuscating, confusion, trying to make something appear in a way that it really isn't, confusing things, right? And so that's what that is. But Caitlin wants things her way. And a lot of her fans want things her way. Her way didn't work with Christy Sides because they got kicked out of the first round by that woman you're looking at, Stephanie White. And they got swept and kicked out of the first round. And I believe Caitlin was terrible, I think, in one of those games or both of those games. I forgot. But she was pretty bad. And so doing it Caitlin's way from Iowa didn't work because they got kicked out of the first round. And doing things Stephanie White way without Caitlin Clark worked because they were one game away, one win away from the WNBA finals without Caitlin Clark. Okay, and if it wasn't for that egregious, bogus call on Aaliyah Boston, the Fever win that game, and they're in the WNBA finals, and I think they would have beat the Phoenix Mercury. I believe they would have beat the Phoenix Mercury and won the championship. And that's doing things Stephanie way. Stephanie has the right to criticize Caitlin Clark, to give Caitlin Clark a serve. She has that right because she's a champion in college as a player, top assistant coach with the Indiana Fever, championship. Her first year as a Fever's head coach. First year, 2015, they go to the WNBA finals. Her first year, okay? They go to the finals. She leaves, she goes to Vanderbilt. Well, first she goes into commentary, which she's great at. And the league didn't like the way she left Indiana. And so she had to cut her teeth to get back into the league. And so she went to college, to Vanderbilt. Now, some pro coaches are terrible collegiate coaches. They're terrible college coaches. And some college coaches are terrible pro coaches. We've seen this in the NFL. We've seen this in the NBA. And we've seen this in the WNBA. It's just like some players they're not meant for college, but they are extraordinary as professionals, okay? And some players are meant for college and they're terrible as professionals. They're meant for certain rigid systems, but they're not meant for the pros. And so we see that Stephanie wasn't meant for coaching college basketball. That wasn't for her. Okay, that's not her thing. Recruiting, all of these other things, being responsible for grades and curfews and all of these other things. And the fact that she just couldn't out-recruit the top teams in the SEC or the country, it was brutal. She couldn't get the players she wanted. And so college just wasn't her thing. But she has always been an exceptional head coach. Now, you can say, well, listen, she took over for Lynn Dunn her first year and got them to the finals with the same roster Lynn Dunn had. I don't care because we've seen coaches in other sports, including the WNBA and the NBA, and they take over for winning coaches, and they don't do anything with that, essentially the same roster. So that was pretty impressive her first year as a head coach to go to the WNBA finals. People forget about that. And she got the Fever to the finals, both years. So anyway, so then she comes back. She leaves Vanderbilt. It was pretty bad. And she comes back, and then she coaches the Connecticut Sun. And what happens? She has great success. And she wins Coach of the Year. Just great success. And you could say, well, listen, that was a roster that was built for any coach. And that's a fair point. Okay, true. That's totally a fair point. But she still won Coach of the Year regardless. I don't care. And then you move on to her greatest season ever as a head coach, which was last season. Because you can put an asterisk and you can question what she did with the Fever her first stint. Immediately she goes to the finals with the Fever as a head coach her first time around. Immediately. Got them in the playoffs, right? You could say, well, that's Tamika Catchings. They still got everyone essentially on that team. Okay, that's fair. And you could say, well, Connecticut was loaded. That's fair too. Okay, that's fair. But what you can't say is that the Fever were loaded last year and they lost arguably their best player, Caitlin Clark. She only played 13 games. By the end of the season, the Fever were top 5 in the WNBA in pace. She coached that team almost to the WNBA finals with a roster that was riddled, decimated by injuries. Okay? With a bunch of women who were just plug and play women. She had to find these women and teach them the system real quick, feed them, chew their food for them until they were able to chew their food on their own. And that's what she had to do. And by that time, when they were able to chew their food on their own, they were 5th in pace in the WNBA at the end of the season. And if it weren't for the referees and the powers that be cheating to get the Aces into the finals, the Fever would have won a championship. I believe they would have beat the Phoenix Mercury. And let's not forget, with that same roster, she won the first ever Commissioner's Cup for the Indiana Fever. And so if anyone ever questioned her ability as a head coach, her talent as a head coach, you can't question it, because what she did last year, there's a very few coaches who have done that, and they all turned out to be great coaches, Hall of Famers. One of them is in the WNBA right now, and that's Becky Hammon. And Becky has done that while going 6 or 7 deep. She'll make it to the Hall of Fame as a head coach. She went 6 deep most of the season last year. She'll flirt with 7, but she really went 6 deep because their bench, they didn't have a lot of great depth. So Becky was able to win a championship going 6 deep. But then you have to go back to the NCAA with Muffet McGraw. When Muffet McGraw in 2018 was able to get it done with 5 players. Sometimes she played with 6. The other time she played with 5 players. 5. Okay. And yes, Jessica Shepard was on that team. And that's what she did. And they were able to get it done with Enrique and the rest of them. They were able to get that done. Muffet McGraw is a Hall of Famer. So there's only a few coaches who can say, I had to take over a roster destroyed by injuries, and I had to make key lime pie out of limes. I had to make lemon meringue pie out of lemons, with all due respect. I don't mean any disrespect to these players, but that's what happened with the Fever last season. Okay, from Caitlin, 13 games, Sophie gone for the season, Chloe gone for the season, Sydney Colson gone for the season, Ari McDonald gone for the season, you name it. Everyone is just gone off of that team. Hell, even Damiris Dantas was gone, right? And so that's what the Fever were dealing with. And then the Fever had to, let's not forget, DeWanna Bonner bailed on them, okay? And so that's who the Fever had to deal with. The Fever had to deal with a rookie and Michaela Timpson. She had to sort of figure it out. Damiris Dantas, whenever she could play, had to figure it out. Lexi Hall had to pour her guts into the season. Odyssey Sims and Kelsey Mitchell was even in conversations for MVP. I mean, this is what she was working with. She didn't have much to work with at all last season. Aerial powers, and she was able to somehow try to figure it out. And she did such a great job that the team almost went to the finals, even with Kelsey Mitchell getting injured in that game. And before she got injured, she was tired and she was bricking everything, and she was having one of her worst games in her career. And then she goes out with an injury, and then Odyssey Sims stepped up, and we almost went to the finals if it were not for that bogus foul call on Aaliyah Boston, right? So that was one of the most impressive years ever for a head coach in WNBA history. All she needed to do was seal the deal with a championship. And like they said, it was like we were all watching some tear-jerker sports film. A sports film that pulls at your heartstrings, that has this amazing storybook ending. And we almost had that with the Fever last year, but that bogus call really killed it. So Stephanie White is an elite coach, not on the collegiate level. I'm the first one ever bring that up. No one ever knew about this woman until I preached about her. So, and everyone copied off of my channel when they ran to their channels with it. Y'all know how that go. But so like, that's what it is. Some coaches aren't built for college, but they're made for the pros. And some coaches are made for college, but they're not made for the pros. Some players are made for college, they're not made for the pros. And some players are made for pros. They're not all that great in college, but they're great in the pros. Or they're good in college, but they're even greater as professionals. And so like, that's what that is. So Stephanie White is your head coach, and any insubordination cannot be tolerated. Any undermining cannot be tolerated. So let me show you what she did. So Stephanie White is telling her, you have to guard without grabbing, without fouling, all of those things. Right. And Caitlin is saying, I have my hands up, and she's yelling at Stephanie. That's not how you communicate. You got away with that with Lisa Bluter because Lisa Bluter had to take that verbal abuse because she was afraid you would enter the portal. They all were. They all saw what you did for Iowa. Even though Iowa were doing really good with attendance under Megan Gustafson, it wasn't like it was with Caitlin. They weren't on television like that with Megan. I mean, listen, I was making Megan Gustafson videos her freshman year. You know, sometimes you didn't get to see Iowa games on TV. You literally had to subscribe to ESPN Plus to see Iowa Hawkeye games. I mean, seriously. So Megan was doing good enough, but it wasn't like what Caitlin was doing at Iowa. They didn't want that to go away. They were on television. They're all over the place. They didn't want that stuff to leave. And so Lisa Bluter just took it. She took it. Okay, she took it, and it was what it was, right? Especially this fear of, would she actually enter the transfer portal? I mean, we weren't her first choice, so there's always that lingering in the back of your mind, like, she wouldn't leave Iowa, but wait a second, we weren't her first choice, so I'm not so sure about that, right? So it's sort of like Dawn Staley, had to make sure she did everything for Asia, because Asia's first choice was Tennessee, I believe, the Lady Vols. I think that was her first choice, the Lady Vols. And so that was Dawn had to make sure that, listen, I got to do everything for this woman because she could leave. We were not her first choice. The Gamecocks, I think it was the Lady Vols were her first choice, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And so it was just one of those things, right? And so you just took it. And Lisa Bluter just took it. And she took a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of disrespect. And even her teammates took a lot of disrespect. You watch some of those BTS vids and how she's throwing everything in her face, what she did for the team. She just shoving it in their face in a locker room. And they all got their heads down and they look sad because they know it's true that they don't get these commercials. They don't get any of this stuff without her. And Caitlyn would put that in their face, and they knew it. And there's nothing that they could say, but you can see on some of their faces, it clearly hurt them that she would say that. And they wish she didn't say that, but they also knew it was true. And so it was really nothing they could say. But what it did, it just exposed what a terrible, what type of terrible character you have to shove that in your teammate's face like that, to also know that you have a proverbial gun to the head of this program and that they have to do everything you say, right? So that's megalomaniac. That's a megalomaniac, someone who wants complete power and control, right? And so like that's what that is. So Lisa Bluter had to take it. Well, Christy Sides had to take it, right? Christy Sides had to take it as well, because she knew that the Fever were only getting around 6,000 people. The ratings were terrible for the Fever. I know this because I'm an original Indiana Fever fan from day one. And so I've seen it every year. And so it was brutal. It was brutal once the playoff run ended after 2016, once all that was dead. The Fever suffered, and they suffered badly, y'all. And so like those are the things that happen. So everyone knew that Caitlin Clark was the one that was bringing all of the eyes and everything. And so Christy had to eat it. Christy had to eat it. And Christy didn't really want to change her system, but she had to. She had to change it. She had to switch it up. She didn't really want to do that, but she had to do it. And so they played the Iowa Hawkeye way, and they let, they couldn't practice at first because they couldn't practice because it was an Olympic year. So they couldn't practice at all until during the Olympic break. And they finally got in practice time, and that's when everything took off. After the Olympic break, everything took off. The Fever started winning a bunch of games, and everything was fast-paced. Caitlin is running the show, and everything is just beautiful, right? And then they get to the playoffs, and they get kicked out of the first round by that woman right there, Stephanie White. Kick swept, and they didn't look good at all. Not in that first game. Second game got a little bit better, but they got swept. Right. And so like that's the whole situation. So even Christy had to take it. Caitlin Clark, Christy is trying to tell Caitlin Clark what she was supposed to do on that play. And Caitlin yanked her arm away from Christy and said, "We're not running that stupid effing play." That's what she said. She threw water bottles down her rookie year, punched the chairs, threw a water bottle down, water splashing on Katie Lou and her teammates, punching the chair, kicking the stanchion. She was nasty last year, but Christy had to eat it because she was the one putting them on national television. She was the one blowing up their social media account. She was the one filling out those arenas. And so they had to eat it. Christy had to eat it. And like, that's what it was. But Stephanie doesn't have to eat it because Stephanie is responsible for the Indiana Fever's only WNBA championship. Stephanie is born and raised in Indiana. Stephanie won a championship for Purdue, right? That's Stephanie. Stephanie is one of Indiana's favorite daughters. That's who she is. And she's proven herself in this league and in college, in this state. And so she's someone where she doesn't have to take that stuff from Caitlin. And Breon January doesn't. Breon January just being a professional. Breon is saying, listen, I'm responsible along with Stephanie White and Karima Christmas Kelly and Tully sitting behind us. We were on that 2012 team. We're the reason why we have that championship. So we've been places you want to go to. You want to get to these places we've been to that you've never been to. So you can't tell us what's right and wrong when you've never touched those levels, right? You've never touched those levels. So it's probably best for you to sit down, listen and learn, take advice, take instruction, be pliable, flexible, coachable, and maybe things will get better for you. But this isn't college. This isn't the Big Ten. You're not playing UNI, okay? You're not playing Northwestern. right? You're not playing Northwestern. You're not playing some out of conference team like UNI. This isn't that. This is the WNBA, where there's only 15 teams now, okay? And we're getting the very best women from the States and around the world. Yeah, some women should be in this league, not in this league, but for the most part, we have the best players in the world. This isn't Iowa, Caitlin, right? So some things have to change. And we tried it your way last year. I mean, in 2024, your rookie year. And it got you bounced out of the first round. It got you swept. You got swept doing it your way. Okay, when we didn't do it your way, we almost went to the finals if it wasn't for a bogus call by the ref. Okay, so it's these things. So you got to say you've never done what Breon January has done in terms of championship. This woman is responsible for a WNBA championship. She's arguably one of the greatest on-ball defenders in WNBA history. Breon January is arguably the greatest on-ball defender. One of the greatest defenders in WNBA history. You can never turn your face away from her. Be disrespect as if you know more than she does when you don't. What you can say is, I know about packing arenas. I can say that. I know about getting big ratings. You can say that. But in terms of the whiteboard, especially on defense, you can't ever say that you know more than Breon January ever in your life. Okay? Never, right? And you can never say you know what it's like to advance in the playoffs in uniform. You can't say that. You understand? And you can never say you know what it's like to be in uniform and to taste champagne. And you can never say you know what it's like to be in uniform and to play in the WNBA finals and to win the WNBA finals, right? Like, you can't ever say that, right? I mean, the Fever had this run of getting into the playoffs yearly, annually, every season they were in the playoffs, okay? And so that type of consistency, Breon January is like every year, like I was in the playoffs, and so it's just levels to this. It's levels to this. So the Fever did everything they could. They surrounded Caitlin Clark around winners. Your head coach is a winner as a player and as a coach. Your assistant coach, Breon January, is a winner. Your other assistant coach, Tully and Cream and Christmas Kelly, are winners, champions, right? Like that's who we surrounded you with. Kelly Crosskoff, a champion. She's doing things the wrong way because I know why they're doing it. They're trying to tank to get Juju, which I called out before no one still is talking about that. I'm the only one that brought it up. You're tanking for Juju, but like that's what it is. So Kelly Crosskoff, champion. Amber Cox respected in league circles, but obviously tanking. And Lynn Dunn, champion. But Lynn Dunn is known for tanking as well. So if anything, you want to be mad at the front office because there's something nefarious going on there. So, but let me show you how she rolled her eyes. She gets up and walks away and then rolls her eyes, looking at her teammates, rolling her eyes behind Stephanie White's back. So this is what you see in this cover photo is a still shot that I dressed up like this. So let me show you how she rolls her eyes. Now, when you're arguing with your coach and you stand up behind her and start rolling your eyes, that is a non-verbal undermining. Okay, so watch this. Let me bring that back. I wish that was in 1080. I want to mute this too. How do I mute this? See that? See how she rolled her eyes? Let's bring that back. Look. And she did that last year to Breon January. And then she started just disrespecting Breon January too. But look. I mean, that's Just rolling your eyes. That's a nonverbal undermining. So she's trying to tell her. She's trying to tell you. You're trying to give it back to her, and she says, "Raven, come sit over here." Right? Like, let me talk to a real defender real quick. And look, she rolls her eyes. And so, like, that's what it is. So what she's trying to tell her, and Caitlin is ignoring her, drinking her Gatorade, yelling back at her. She doesn't want to listen. And Stephanie says, "Raven, come on, sit right here. I ain't got time for all this." Okay. And there she is. She rolls her eyes, undermine her coach behind her back. Look at her. Rolls her eyes twice. And like, that's what that is. And so that's what you're witnessing. What you just watched is a nonverbal undermining. Okay. And that's just the reality of it. So what I want to show you is this. So I'm going to go, oops. Actually, no, I don't think I could do that. I just thought of something stupid is going to happen if I did that. Let me do this. Let me actually go to Grok. Let me go to Grok, and I want to go to WNBA.com link. And we can do this. We can do it this way. I have to do that because if I go to that app, I just forgot I didn't turn off Bluetooth. And so then it shows some sensitive information. And so I can't do that. So I have to be careful. Yeah, I got to be careful. I just want to go to rosters if I can. If I may, I want to go to team. I'm going to go to the Indiana Fever. Oh, this is great. I wish the layout was a lot different, but, I guess we can just do it this way. Whoa. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. Okay. All right, let's do this. All right. So I want to show you how that the Indiana Fever, they're losing because they don't have anyone who can get their own shot, anyone who can get you out of sticky situations outside of Kelsey Mitchell. And that's just on offense. And then on defense, they're mostly placebos. Okay, you call it a cone, I call it a placebo, right? It's nothing. It's said that it can have this type of effect on you, can have this type of impact, it can heal, it can cure, but it does nothing, right? It looks like medicine, but it's really nothing. It's water, it's a sugar pill, it's a placebo. So you're in a defensive stance, or you're in a zone, or you're switching, and you look like a defender, but you do nothing. So you're a placebo. You look like a pain pill, but really you're a sugar tablet that looks like a pain pill. It's a placebo. And so like that's what the Fever are on defense. They're a bunch of placebos. And the only one who can get you out of a sticky situation with their handles, with their creativity, is Kelsey Mitchell. And because that's your roster, remember I told you guys before anyone ever made any videos about the Fever this year, but this upcoming season, I said they have the worst roster in the WNBA. I said if two of these starters get injured, expect to see Juju Watkins in the Indiana Fever uniform next season, or Hannah Hidalgo. Okay, and so I broke down their roster. And I'm the first one to ever tell you that they shouldn't keep Kelsey Mitchell, that they should seriously consider moving on, and then they could bring in several different players. They can get a bunch of different players to make up for her loss, to make up for the point production loss. I went through different names and different scenarios and different things like that. Now I have lurkers like that keep the vision or keep the venereal disease in his mouth. I got him lurking on my channel. I got the cigarette smoker angry fan lurking on my channel. I got John the Lick Her Aider lurking on my channel. Hell, I even got Jason Whitlock lurking on my channel, and they run to their channel. So we were the first one to talk about the Fever shouldn't keep Kels, and they could bring in different players to make up for her point production. You a damn liar. Yeah, I got receipts. I'm the first one to ever talk about it. Y'all lurked on my channel and ran to your channel with it. Anyway, let me get back to this. So if you look at it, Kelsey Mitchell is the only one who can get you out of a sticky situation. Maisha Hans-Allen is a career bench player. That's who she is. A champion with the Mystics in 2019, but she's just a career bench player. I mean, she's had her moments where she started games, but she's a career bench player. How did you think that was going to play out? You give Raven a pass because she's a rookie. She's showing promise, but she's a rookie. A lot of rookie mistakes yesterday, holding on to players, grabbing players, touching players, knowing the rule about freedom of movement, and she's still trying to hand check. So she's learning. She's learning, so you give her a pass. Even though you needed a big, but we'll give Raven a pass. Aaliyah Boston, a bull in a china shop when she doesn't get her way, when she faces good defense or a good defender, she turns into a bull in a china shop. That's what she was taught at South Carolina. Don Staley, I swear to God, Don Staley would tell them, you can essentially do whatever you want to do because you're the Gamecocks. They're going to turn they're going to turn their eyes. They're going to turn a blind eye and all of these things and let you get away with a lot of different stuff. And so that's what happened. And so if you watch Aaliyah Boston in South Carolina, she would be a bull in a china shop, throw elbows at your sternum, lower her shoulder, push off of you, throw her hip into your hip and damn near dislocate your hip like she did South Dakota State, UCLA, throwing elbows and forearms into your windpipe like she did South Dakota State Jackrabbits, and never once got called for a penalty at all. They just let it go. She was a dirty, nasty player. On my other channel, I got a couple of videos, a little compilation of how filthy she was. That's why she was getting beat up, essentially, in the WNBA her first 2 years, especially her second year. And people was like, how come don't nobody like Aaliyah? Because now the vids are out and they see she's a dirty player. That's why Brittany Griner almost broke her arm. Because Aaliyah Boston hit her in the gut with her elbow, and that was strike 3, really. And so she was just a dirty player. And so whenever she can't pull off a move on you, Aaliyah she'll become a bull in a china shop. She'll revert back to the South Carolina Gamecock days and become a bull in a china shop. So she's very immature that way. So anyway, she can't get you out of a sticky situation unless she's facing weaker defenders. This entire team will only have success when they're playing weaker defenses, okay? When you're playing a team like Portland Fire, and I'm the only one to ever preach about Portland Fire, I told you about constraints-led approach. No one ever heard of it until I broke it down. As soon as they hired Alex Sarama, I went to YouTube and said, let me break down this dude and his system, and don't do anything with him with your power rankings. Because once they figure out CLA, they're going to be virtually impossible to beat. They almost beat Atlanta 3 quarters, and they were missing several players 2 days ago playing against Atlanta. Okay, several key players they were missing. And they hung with Atlanta for 3 straight quarters and lost it in the 4th quarter because they were missing key players. So, and now everyone is seeing with Portland, like, oh my gosh, Portland. I told you about Portland. Like I told you last year about the Golden State Valkyries. And everyone had Golden State finishing last. I say, no, I know these women, and I know Natalie Nakase's system. These players, this team will make the playoffs, and they made the playoffs. I said Washington Mystics will be fighting for the 8th seed, and they were fighting for the 8th seed. They would have made the playoffs if Brittany Sykes didn't quit on the team and demand a trade. So I told you, as soon as they hired Alex Sarama, I said, wait a second. This is an anomaly. Constraints-led approach is an anomaly. You've never seen it before. And women's basketball used as for a team. It's never happened. Individually, players, some women like Nafisa, Kelsey, Skylar, they train using the CLA methodology, its principles. But we've never seen it used for a team. Unless you start watching the NBA and you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple seasons ago. And then you start looking overseas to a few teams overseas and Duke at college, but that's it. It's never in the history of women's basketball or girls basketball, or any level, it's never been used. And so when you're facing an anomaly, you're probably going to lose a lot of games facing an anomaly or find it really hard to beat these kinds of teams because it's a system, it's a methodology, it's principles, it's something you've never seen before in women's basketball, ever. And once the team figures it out and they get comfortable with CLA, you're going to lose. Okay. The defense, coaches call it messy. They call it messy because they don't like it because there's no true offense to beat a CLA defense. And there's no defense to truly beat a CLA offense, right? Because every player on the floor, they're their own offensive coach. There is no set design offensive system. Okay, what it is. You give the players complete autonomy on the court. All 5 players. Every cut you saw Portland do today, every screen, every pass, that was organic. And with CLA, coaches only call 3 or 4 plays the entire game, and they're mainly like an ATO or coming back from like a media timeout. Right. That's the only. So you'll get maybe 3 or 4 design plays a game from a CLA coach. That's it. Everything else, it's organic. And so that's why they're so difficult to beat. And they score a lot of points. Like the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple years ago led the NBA in scoring with over 120 points per game. And they were the number 1 seed in the East, 68 wins. Why? That was their first year ever using CLA. Why? Because all 5 players are offensive coaches on the floor all at once. And so you don't know what they're running, right? So if they were running an Iverson offense, well, there's a defense for an Iverson offense, right? If they were running a flex offense, there's a defense for a flex offense. If they're running a Spain pick and roll, mainly a Spain pick and roll offense, there's a defense for that to some degree. Because Spain pick and roll, Spain PNRs are unique, but like if you're running a zipper offense, there's a defense for a zipper offense. A triangle, there's a defense for a triangle. Okay, a 5 out, a 4 out, 1 in. There's defenses for that, right? A dribble drive, UCLA, Princeton, right? There's defenses for all of that, but there's no defense for constraints-led approach. And so coaches don't like it because they like tradition. They don't train the way teams train. Their male practice players are actually trying to block their shots and trying to stop them from doing layups. I mean, literally blocking their layups, literally trying to block every shot. They're actually literally trying to block it. So when they get into a game, they're comfortable under pressure. They practice full speed. They shrink the court on purpose and run 5x5 full speed on a shrunken court. And then sometimes they'll do 4-on-3 or 3-on-3 or 3-on-2 or 2-on-2. And that's what it is. So when they get to a court that's 50 feet wide and 94 feet long, this is utopia for them because they were just training on a shrunken court full speed, right? When you close out, when they do a shot, that's light work. Because their male practice players are literally blocking their threes on purpose. They're taught to block their threes and middies and layups. They're taught to do that. So when they get into a game, it's going to be light work against these women, right? They're taught how to become better, faster, quicker thinkers and decision makers. So they're given 6 seconds to make a decision with a 3 dribble limit. And sometimes he'll give them 5 seconds with a 2 dribble limit. And you have to make a decision, whether that's a pass or a shot, right? In a team setting. 6 second, 3 dribble limit, 5 second, 2 dribble limit. It helps build quicker, faster decision making. And so when they're in a game, it's easy. When you see them throw these wild passes, they're taught to throw those passes, to attempt those passes, because defenses aren't expecting a big to ever attempt something like that. And so when you get into a game, you're comfortable doing it, right? Everyone is in slow motion to you because everything is run at the highest pace. They train everything with game speed and game-like intensity. They even pump in crowd noise, right? They literally pump in crowd noise into their practices so that the communication can be crisp and better. So if they ever played in a crazy environment, they're good. And I can go into more with constraints-led approach. Everything is built so that to make you to be so uncomfortable and out of the box and away from tradition that when you get into a game, you're comfortable, especially when you really start to figure out CLA, right? So the Fever, they don't have their male practice players pressing them 94 feet for real, right? They don't train like that. Everything is scripted in their practices. The Fever, all of these, Atlanta almost lost to them until the fourth quarter. And there was nothing Portland can do because some of their best players weren't playing. It's not easy beating Portland, and it's not even 10 games yet. It's not even the end of the first quarter of the season, which is 11 games. So you can imagine when they really figure out constraints-led approach, they're going to be really, really difficult to beat. That's why I told you, don't do anything with them with your power rankings. Put an asterisk, put them to the side. We're not touching Portland because this is an anomaly in women's basketball. We've never seen it before. It was an anomaly in the NBA. That's why the Cavaliers won 68 games and scored over 120 points per game and had the number one offense. Anomalies are hard to beat because you've never seen it before. That's why Caitlin threw people off her rookie year. She was an anomaly. And so she was able to break all these records and score all of these points and get all of these assists because she was an anomaly. The WNBA never faced anyone like her before. They never seen anyone like her before. The only women who were familiar with her are women who played against her in college. But the majority of the WNBA never played against her in college. These coaches never scouted anyone like her in their lives. And so she threw everyone off, including the referees. She threw them all off. The problem is that her second year, she came back with the same packages, the same moves. She didn't do anything, okay? And so because she came back with the same move, you start watching vids and these teams in the offseason watching all of these vids, like they were watching vids on a League of Boston to figure out she's a dirty player, right? And so they did that with Caitlin. Like, damn, man, like she kind of basic if we don't fall for the blow by. You understand? Like that's all they had to do because she's going to hit you with a snatchback or a step back or a side step or a punch dribble into a step. Like she's going to hit you with certain moves in reverse to get your momentum going towards the rim, and then she's stepping back, right? And so they have to figure, we just need to like sit on this blow by. She's going to pretend like what she does when the game first starts, she attacks the rim like sometimes 3 straight times. She'll attack the rim, either to lay it up or to kick it to a cutter or someone on the wing. That's what she'll do. And so she'll do that like 3 times in a row. And then on the 4th time, she'll hit you with a step back or a snatch back. And she got you. And she busting a 3 in your face. And so at this point, you're in danger. So they just start saying, wait a second, even if she blow by you, she doesn't do anything at the rim if you contest it. Caitlin can grab the rim. I've seen her do it twice. The problem is that Caitlin is afraid of the air, right? She has this fear of flying. She's afraid to be creative. And I've seen Caitlin touch the rim 2 times, y'all. She can jump pretty high. It's just that when she's in the air, she's not creative. She has this fear of flying, okay? And so there's no clutch. There's no double clutch. There's no clutch up and under. There's no reverse. There's no jellies. There's nothing, okay? And because of that, she's basic. It's a basic left hand or a basic right hand. And if it's contested, she's going to dribble out of it and look for a cutter or look for someone open, right? Or she'll jump in the air and hope to God that she gets the whistle. And that's what it is. So they figured it out. Even if she blow by us, just contested at the rim, the most that's going to happen is that she's going to find a cutter, right? But I'll take my chances sitting on a blow by because the pattern is there, okay? There's paraphernalia, there's evidence, there's DNA, there's luminol. I see the blood, right? You didn't clean it all up because I still see blood. There's the luminol. The luminol is telling us that when the game first starts, she attacks the rim 2 to 3 times in a row, full speed. And she's setting you up for a fake blow by, a hezzy, behind the back, BTB, snatch back, step back. That's what it is. I'll take my chances sitting on it. And so when they started to sit on it, she didn't have a counter. She don't got a dribble package. That's crazy moving forward. It's nice moving backwards, but it's not great moving forward. And that's what they saw the second year. So everyone really starts sitting on it. That's why she played 13 games and only had 4 good games, right? And so you came back with the same packages, right? And then her slashing package wasn't good, and her midi package wasn't good. You understand what I'm saying? And so it hurt her, right? So the injuries there, she only played 13 games. What you expected was, after her rookie year, was for her in the offseason to play overseas basketball where she can get better, or go to Athletes Unlimited. That's not what she wanted to do, right? She played a lot of golf. She filmed commercials. She was at concerts and Indianapolis Colts games and Pacers games and just living her life. And that's fair. Fresh out of college, you finally get this type of freedom. You know, you're playing nonstop basketball. I understood last year, after rookie year, why she didn't do off season. I understood it to some degree, but I understood it. But this off season, you can't do that because you were so terrible in 2025 pre-injury. And we were told that you were healed from your injury. After the All-Star break, Amber Cox said that she's completely healed. They ran her through all the scans. They didn't find anything wrong. Their concern is her conditioning. Literally right after the All-Star break, our concern is her conditioning. She's fine. So they decided to sit her out for the rest of the year. So I expected Caitlin to do some really good things in the offseason. Go overseas, get better, or go to Athletes Unlimited for 4 weeks and improve your game. That's not what she wanted to do. She played a bunch of golf, which hurt her back. That's why her back is injured. She played too much golf. So golf is what got her back. And that's what they're trying to cover up. It's golf. Just like I told you, she was abusing leg day, and that's literally what happened to her. On her own, she abused leg day, and that's how she got those quad injuries. Before training camp last year, according to Chloe Peterson. She came into training camp with that, and that was because she was abusing leg day. And so this offseason, she played a lot of golf, and that's what hurt her lower back like that. That's why her back is hurting. And she filmed a bunch of commercials. She was at concerts. She was living her life, and she even came to my city and other cities charging $100,000 to be a keynote speaker. That's what she was doing instead of getting better. Now, we saw a few things. We saw her throwing touchdown passes to Pacers players. Okay, so we saw that, and we saw how they had her in bubble wrap. Okay, during those little scripted drills, she was in bubble wrap. And then we saw her train with Team USA, and then we saw her play in Puerto Rico, and she won MVP. She played 5 games, but she only had 2 good games shooting. Okay, she had 3 terrible games shooting, terrible, and then she had 2 good games. Okay, and so that's what it was. Now, all 5 games she were good with assists, but she only had 2 good games shooting, 3 terrible games scoring percentages. But they still gave her MVP. Politics, whatever. But if you want to say she got it off of assist numbers, that's fair because she dominated with assist numbers. But if you're talking about just quality of play on offense, if you remove the assists, she wasn't good at all. But whatever. But that's still not enough. That's 5 games against terrible opponents when your teammates are future Hall of Famers, all-stars, or very good players. Going up against Senegal and Puerto Rico and Italy. Like, come on, stop it, right? So, yeah, it was what it was. And, like, that's how I look at it. So, I even after that, I said, with Caitlin, there's opportunity for you to go to Athletes Unlimited. She didn't want to do it. She still didn't want to do it. So she felt she did enough. She felt she did enough. I played it. I played in Puerto Rico. That's enough. I'm good. Let me go back to making commercials. And so, like, that's what it was. And so you come into this season and, you know, you're up and down. Nothing really looks impressive. You could find a few good games where it's like, wow, she scored 20 plus points and all of that. But then you start looking at it and it's like, okay, free throw line, percentages were off. A couple games where the percentages were good, but yeah, she's getting numbers, but, you know, there's question marks next to everything. And it looks inflated when you start looking at it. The problem is this, you guys. Caitlin and this Indiana Fever team will find success against teams who aren't anomalies on defense, like Golden State, like Portland. When you're going against teams who are an anomaly on defense, meaning they're so high strung, they're so aggressive, they're so freaking suicide bomber kamikaze that they just don't give a damn, and they're gonna blitz you and jump every passing lane and grab and swipe at every basketball. They're gonna beat you. They're gonna win in the 4th phase of the game, the 50-50 game, by all means necessary. Once you're facing a kamikaze team like that, a suicide bomber team like that, you're going to lose a lot of those games because that's not how you train. That's not what you're familiar with. But when you play a team like New York, or you can play a team like Las Vegas, or, you know, you can play a team like Dallas and, you know, Washington and some of these other teams, that's not how they play. They don't play defense like Golden State. They don't play defense like Portland. And so you'll see the Fever win some of those games because of the high, fast-paced system they run, a lot of the off-ball action she has going on with a lot of off-ball screens, a lot of curl screens off of staggers. It's a lot of stuff going on she's doing, which is great. Inverted screens. She's doing some really great stuff. The problem is that when she's facing defenses that are anomalies, the Fever are going to run into some problems. They did against Golden State and they did against Portland. Now, when they play with some of these teams where they're not anomalies on defense, you'll see the Fever win those games because that pace is scorching. They play at a scorching pace. Okay. What I said is that I never said the Fever wouldn't make the playoffs. I said if the Fever lose 2 of their starters, expect to see Juju, Watkins in a Fever uniform. I said that because when I looked at the roster, it is the worst roster in the league, but it's the Iowa Hawkeyes on steroids. And it's in some ways better a little bit than the 2024 team, right? So when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, this is Iowa on steroids. Stephanie has the perfect system for it. The Fever, if they lose 2 of these starters, they're screwed. But if they stay healthy until the end of the season, the Fever would be a 7th or 8th seed. That's what I said. They might even sneak to be a 6th seed, but I'm seeing more 6, 7, 8. That's how I see the Fever, 6, 7, 8, right? But if they lose 2 of these starters, you will see Juju Watkins in a Fever uniform or Hannah Hidalgo, because there'll be a lottery team. Madison Booker, one of those players. And so, like, that's that whole situation. But yeah, like, so what is the solution for the Fever? On defense, you got to play zone defense when Caitlin is in the game. You have to, and when Sophie is in the game, really, but you have to play zone defense, right? So you have to play matchup zone. You have to do what New York did in the second game they played against Portland. They just running matchup zone the entire second half, and it was simultaneous. Like, it was just different looks. Wherever Portland moved the basketball, they saw a different zone, right? I'm talking about on one possession. Portland is on offense. On that possession, The New York Liberty started out in a 2-3. Emily Angster kicked it on the perimeter. They moved to a 3-2. Okay. They kicked the ball to the right wing. They moved to a 1-3-1. Then they switched to a 1-2-2. Right? Like, this is literally what they did. Then the next time down, they in a 2-1-2, an X zone. Right? Like, this is what they're doing. I swear to God. Wherever Portland moved, they switched to a different zone. These are you dealing with matchup zones, but they were doing it constantly. Wherever Portland moved to, they saw a different look. On that one possession, they saw at least 4 zones on one possession. And it threw Portland off, and they lost the third quarter. Remember, their second game, Portland could have won. They could have beat the Liberty back to back. But in the second half, that third quarter, he gave them different looks each possession on offense. I swear to God, sometimes you saw 4 zones on one possession, and it threw Portland off. But Portland figured it out in the fourth quarter, and that's why the fourth quarter was so close in that second New York Liberty game. I think they only lost that fourth quarter by 1 point. They figured it out, right? So what the Fever is going to have to do is that when they face teams like Portland, where they're an anomaly on offense, or they face good offensive teams, they have to play zone defense. You can't take Caitlin out of the game because she's such a good passer, and she has good gravity. It's not the best in the league, not the way it was in 2024 or even in 2025, but it's still great gravity. And so you have to respect her ability at all times. So you want her on the floor because of the attention she gets and because of her facilitating. You have to have that, right? And she's a good rebounder. So like you have to have that. On defense is where she's a liability. Okay. On offense, she's a liability if you don't fall for the fake blow-bys and all that. That's a problem. But now she's getting a whistle, so she'll get to the free throw line. But she's still a liability on offense to some degree. But the passing is there, and the potential, where she can go off is there. So you have to have her on the floor. Her problem is that she's going to hurt you on defense. So how do you protect your best player? How do you protect your best player on defense? Well, you run zone, okay? And you have to do a matchup zone. And sometimes your matchup zones can have woman-to-woman principles, right? You can run a hybrid matchup zones. And it's simple. Or you can do a triangle in 2, okay? Which is 2 defenders at the top, and they're playing woman-to-woman defense, and the 3 defenders are behind them in the form of a triangle, guarding the paint and guarding the edges. And that's what that is. So you can do a triangle in 2 within your matchup zones. You can do a 1-3-1, you can do a 2-3, you can do a 3-2, you can do a 2-1-2 a X zone, you can do a 1-2-2. There's multiple things you can do. Matchup zones, that's how you protect your best player, right? And that's how you limit teams from running away with it. The Fever threw out some 3-2s, but it was too late at that point. And they weren't disciplined in their 3-2 because they were pressing. With a 3-2, you have to play drop coverage. But Portland is so good at shooting threes that the Fever pressed with a 3-2. So what do when you press using a 3-2? Okay, when the 3 defenders are up close to the perimeter, to the 3-point line, what do? You're taught to drive by, right? You're taught to cut, right, with a 45-degree cut, or you're taught to blow by them, drive by them, and then get cutters coming. And that's what it is. So that's what Portland did. They pressed with their 3-2. They broke the 3-2 by driving by them. You saw cutters, and it didn't work. If you're playing a 3-2, you have to use drop coverage, period. And if you're so worried about them shooting threes, you have to understand something. You can't have everything, okay? You can't have everything. So you can do a 3-2 drop coverage. You can do a 2-3, which is going to protect penetration. It's going to protect mid-range shooting at the top at least, and the elbows, the horns, right? And you're going to be able to defend the perimeter to some degree. You're going to give up the wing threes and 45-degree cuts, but the 45-degree cut won't make it all the way to the rim, but you will give up some 45-degree cuts, and you will give up wing shooting. But in the 2-3, the corners are going to be protected. The paint is going to be protected. The mid-range area is going to be protected, right? You could switch to a 1-3-1 where the corners are going to be protected with the wing to some degree. The paint is going to be protected. And the center is going to be protected. When you are exposed to wing. But you got to remember, you can't have everything, right? And so that's the point. You can do a 1-2-2. You can do a 2-1-2. You're all in a zone. You're always going to give up something. You're always going to concede something. You can't have everything. But what it does is that it limits a lot of scoring. That's what it's going to do. It's going to limit a lot of that, and you won't get blown out like that. You're not supposed to just stick with one zone, though. Like, this is why you do matchup zones. And so you see, okay, they're giving us this look. We're in a 3-2. Okay, they move the ball this way. They're about to do this. Okay, we switch to a 2-3. Okay, they're trying to operate over here. Boom, let's go. Let's get more balance and do a 1-3-1. Okay, boom, let's switch to a triangle and 2, right? Or let's run this 2-3 or this 3-2 with woman-to-woman principles. Like, this is what it is. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's how you protect your best player. That's how you protect Kelsey Mitchell. She's a liability on defense. Sophie Cunningham is a liability on defense. Lexi Hall falls for all snatchbacks. Lexi is a good defender, but she falls for snatchbacks all of the time. So how do you protect them? You play matchup zones. That's what you do. That's what you do. You play matchup zones, period. Right? And it's really simple. It's really, really simple, man. And if you wanted to play some man, then just do a triangle and 2. Do a triangle and 2. Or run a 3-2 with woman-to-woman principles. Right? And so it's serious like that. But so that's the solution. What is the solution for the Fever on defense? Matchup zones. And with some of your zones, run some hybrids. It's really simple. Okay. On offense, the Fever are fine. They ran into an anomaly. They've never prepared for something like this in their lives. They ran into an anomaly. Yeah, the Fever beat them the first time around, but you got to understand, they were playing a back-to-back Portland. They were playing a back-to-back, and they were missing several players. Plus, they were still learning CLA. They're still learning it now, but they're much better with it now than they were several games ago when they first played the Fever. There was a back-to-back. They were missing several players, and they were still trying to get comfortable with CLA, right? So the Fever caught them. They caught them. This time around, they were missing several players. Like Carly Samuelson didn't play. They didn't play Sebra Williams either. And obviously Holly Winterburn didn't get into garbage minutes. So they were missing several players. But they were ready this time. Even though it was a back-to-back, Alex Sarama rested. Bridget, some key players. And that's what it was. And so they were ready. They were ready this time for the Fever. They were ready for them. And so that's what happened. So on offense, what's the solution? The solution, just keep going, man. Keep going. It's going to pay off. Lexi is going to start hitting those shots. Sophie is going to be more consistent. Aaliyah is going to eat her food because she's not always going to be facing a defense like that. And that's what it is. Megan Gustafson is one of the greatest post players from college. And to this day, she has elite post moves. It's just that the WNBA told her, you got to go overseas to get you some shot creativity and some 3-point shooting. And so, because she came into this league with 1,000 post moves, and that wasn't good enough because she's only 6'3". And so they said, we can't have that. If you want to stay in this league, you got to be able to stretch the floor and create your own shot. So she goes overseas and she learns how to shoot the 3 and she learns how to get creative with that basketball. And that's what Megan did. Okay. So, but make no mistake about it. Her peanut butter and jelly, right? Her core is the low post, high post. That's her core. She got 1,000 post moves. She owns the mic and drill. Okay. So Megan is in that. That's her space. Okay. That's her space, y'all. The post, that's her. That's what she does. So of course she was gonna score on Aaliyah or anyone that was trying to defend her there, because that's her peanut butter and jelly is the post. Only reason why she shoot threes because that was the only way she was gonna stay in the WNBA. Right? Like that's what that is. So you talk about defense. Listen, that's how it is. Aaliyah's gonna win some, Megan is gonna win some. If you're in this league long enough, you should get better at defense. Okay? Like, I don't respect people who've been in the league for 5 years and they still suck or they're still just average. Like, what are you doing? You've been in this league 5 years and you're still average or below average? Like, what's going on? Like, you clearly don't care about your craft. So Megan cares about her craft. She's gotten better. She's gotten better. Right? The only reason why she was averaging single digits is because she was in systems where on teams where they were playing roster politics and contract politics. With the Mercury, roster contract politics. With the Aces, roster contract politics. Now with Portland, he believes in her. This is a 31-year-old coach. He believes in her. He believes in Megan. He's making Megan a starter. Now Megan is what, 3-4 straight games in double figures? Wow, you believed in me the way Spain believed in me. And that's why I dominated Team USA in the Olympics. Spain believed in me and made me a starter. Look at what I did for Spain. The London Lions believed in me and we won a championship. Look at what I was doing with the London Lions. So when you believe in me and you trust me to score on 2 levels, the low post and the 3-point behind the arc, I can do that. I just need you to trust me. I can do this. And so that's what Spain did. That's what overseas did. When she got to the WNBA, Phoenix was like, nope, you're a role player. The Aces was like, no, this is Asia's team. You're a role player. Portland is saying, you're not a role player. And so you see the Megan Gustafson everyone saw play for Spain's national team in the Olympics. In the FIBA games, you're seeing the Megan Gustafson we saw with the London Lions. The real Megan Gustafson, if you just commit to her, if you just believe in her, right? It's sort of like Lucy Olsen. If you just believe in Lucy, Lucy can get you a championship and win 6 Women of the Year in the WNBA like she did in Australia in the WNBL. Because they believed in Lucy. So she won 6 Women of the Year and won a championship with the Townsville Fire. But Sidney Johnson doesn't believe in Lucy. He believes in roster politics because where he drafted players. And so there's that, right? So, yeah, Megan played a good game. Aaliyah put up some good points tonight, right? And like that's what it was. Aaliyah has always been in foul trouble, except, you know, in college she was able to get away with a lot. But in the WNBA, she's been getting into foul trouble. That's something that she'll have to grow from that. It's not there just yet. Hopefully she'll get better during the season and figure it out. But I can promise you the Fever will win games where they're not playing these crazy defenses like Golden State and Portland, right? They're going to win those kind of games. So you'll see the Fever win games. It's just the problem is that on defense, they got to run matchup zones mixed in with some woman-to-woman principles, right? And then on offense, just keep running your stuff. Keep running your stuff. Stephanie runs a good system. It's a good system. It's a good system, right? Is it what she was doing with Christy Sides, which was Lisa Bluter? No, but how did that work for you when you got swept in the playoffs? Like, come on, what are we talking about here? So this is a good system. This system fits Caitlin. That's why she's scoring the most points she's scored since she's gotten into this league. And she's not even 100% healthy, and she's putting up these crazy numbers. Because it's the right system for her. It is. This is the freaking Iowa Hawkeyes on steroids. Look. Let me show you. Even though this is technically the weakest roster in the league, it's still the Iowa Hawkeyes on steroids, and it's still arguably better than the 2024 roster, right? So I want to show you. So Kelsey Mitchell, Maisha, Raven, Aaliyah, Sophie, Lexi, Damaris, Justine whenever she gets healthy. Grace Van Slootner is nice off the bench. She has a lot of potential. We'll figure that out at another time. Michaela Timpson, Caitlin Clark, Bree Hall, Monique Billings, Ty Harris, right? This is literally the Iowa Hawkeyes on steroids. So you have the lead Hawkeye, you got Caitlin Clark, that's the lead Hawkeye. You have, where's she at? Where are you at? Aaliyah Boston, that's Monica Zanano. So we got Caitlin, Aaliyah Boston / Monica Zanano with now a 3-point shot. And Monica could hit threes. She just that wasn't what her role was. But so you got Caitlin and Monica Zanano / Aaliyah Boston / Monica Zanano. Okay. You have, where's Lexi? You have Lexi Hall, which is a 6'2", 6'2". She's 6'2" to me. A 6'2" Gabby Marshall. That's Lexi. You have Raven Johnson. She's another Gabby Marshall. Okay, so you got two Gabby Marshalls. Sophie Cunningham, you could say Sophie is Kylie Fierbaugh. You could say Sophie is Kylie Fierbaugh, right? So you could say that's Kylie Fierbaugh. You might even want to say Sophia is Taylor McCabe. So you got Sophie is Taylor and Kylie Fierbaugh. So that's Sophie. Even though Kylie is a much better defender, but still, that's Sophie, right? You have Maisha Hines-Allen is your Addison O'Grady. That's your Addison O'Grady. You could say that's Addison O'Grady or that's Warnock or both, okay? Right? And so like this is just what it is. Michaela Timpson, that's your Hannah Stalky. So Michaela is your Hannah Stalky. That's your rim runner. That's your Hannah Stalky, right? Monique Billings is another Hannah Stalky. Or Monique Billings is an Addison O'Grady. Or a Warnock, right? So what I'm highlighting, listen, like you could say Ty Harris. You could say Ty Harris, and then you could say, I would say Ty Harris. No, Kelsey Mitchell is the piece the Hawkeyes wish they had. Okay, right? So that's the dangerous part. That's what makes this on steroids. Because everyone, they're the Hawkeyes. The only one not the Hawkeyes is Kelsey Mitchell. So adding Kelsey with her offense makes the Hawkeyes, makes the Fever the Hawkeyes on steroids. If anything, you could say Molly Davis, because she was one of the greatest scorers in Central Michigan University history, in MAC history, next to Sierra Dillard and a few others. But yeah. Anyway, Kelsey Mitchell, that's a whole different story. She's terrible on defense, but this is a whole different story on offense. So this is literally the Iowa Hawkeyes. We got Kylie Fierbaugh, we got Warnock, we got Addison O'Grady, we got Taylor McCabe, we got Kylie Fierbaugh, we got Caitlin, we got Monica Zanano, we got Hannah Hidalgo. Like we're all over the place. We have Gabby Marshall. We're all over the place with this team right here. This is literally the Hawkeyes on steroids. This is literally the Iowa Hawkeyes on steroids, okay? And so they built it this way. This fits Caitlin Clark, okay? It fits her 100%. And so that's the point. That's why her numbers are so good. So like if you look at her numbers, she's getting 20 points and 8 assists. This is better than her rookie year, right? And this is just what it is. This is the Hawkeyes on steroids, man. It's just that they've ran into two teams who are anomalies on defense. And Portland is the biggest anomaly of them all. You got two teams who are 100% anomalies on defense. And Portland is a complete and total anomaly because they're an anomaly on defense and offense. So they ran into an anomaly. And then with Golden State, they haven't been able to beat Golden State. Last year, they got swept by Golden State. 2 games Caitlin played in. They played Golden State 3 times. With Caitlin, they lost 2, right? So they were 0-3 with Golden State. Caitlin played in 2 of those 3 losses. And then so this season, they're 1-1 against Golden State. So technically, the Fever are 1-4 playing Golden State. That's an anomaly on defense. And because most teams in women's basketball don't train for stuff like that. They don't prep for that. I don't care who you are. They don't prep for that type of intensity, that kind of pressure. They should, but they just don't, because they're worried about injuries. They're worried about attrition. Some players don't want to train that hard. And that's what it is. And so you're dealing with coaches placating and appeasing and giving in to players' demands, and they don't want to train that hard. We're just going to go over the basics and all. That's what you're dealing with in a WNBA, right? You're dealing with a talented league, but you're dealing with coaches running a lot of traditional stuff, and they train in a very traditional way. But that's not the way Portland trains, and that's not the way Golden State trains. But Portland is even more of an anomaly. Like on offense, like Portland is the ultimate anomaly. It's not even close. So the Fever ran into 2 anomalies back to back, and they lost. That's all I'm saying. So, like, people calm down. The only way the Fever don't make the playoffs is if someone gets injured, someone major, or there's 2 major injuries. Yeah, then the Fever they're in trouble. Okay, and get ready to wear a Juju Watkins Fever jersey next season, or Hannah Hidalgo or Madison Booker, because there'll be a lottery team. So you'll get Madison Booker, Hannah Hidalgo, or Juju Watkins in a Fever jersey next season. That's a fact. If 2 of these starters go out, that's guaranteed, right? But if everything is ideal and the Fever stays relatively healthy for the entire season, expect the Fever to be 6, 7, 8. I mean, they're number 1 in the league in pace. And they're a damn good team. Not a damn good team, excuse me. They can put up a lot of points if they're playing traditional teams. When they're running into anomalies, there's a problem. Okay. Now, Caitlin is her own worst enemy because of her attitude. And that's something she seriously has to figure out. Right? So they say God don't like ugly. They say the universe will respond in a way, what you gave the universe, it will respond. So if you're putting out negative energy, the universe is going to give it right back to you. They say God don't like ugly, and he'll show that by taking away his favor from you. Okay? Hell, even sometimes the devil get pissed off with bad people. And sometimes he let them go to prison, or sometimes he let them get killed. You understand? Right? Seriously, it's like sometimes the devil get frustrated too, y'all. Like that's a true story. I swear to God, sometimes the devil get frustrated. Like, man, I'm done with that. I'm done with him. So I mean, sometimes, man, like you got to clean it up. Caitlin, clean it up. Respect authority. That's your head coach, man. Those are your assistants. Respect authority. Right? They've been places you haven't been. On a professional level, they're champions. Breon January is a champion, man. Karima Christmas Kelly, that's a champion. Tully, that's a champion. Stephanie White, a champion. I don't care that it was an assistant. She was top assistant. And then the next year as a head coach. Well, in 2015, head coach. WNBA Finals. Connecticut, Coach of the Year, successful. Fever, last year, 1 game away from the WNBA, 1 win away from the WNBA Finals with a decimated roster due to injuries. She's fine. This is a great system. That's why Caitlin is getting 20 points. And she really should be averaging more than that if she was just efficient. If Caitlin wanted to in the system, she could average 30 a game. She just got to get her efficiency right and start improving with slashing and mid-range shooting and get more packages. But at least right now, if we're being honest, this is a great system for Caitlin. Caitlin could seriously finish the season averaging 25 a game. I can see her averaging 25 to 27 points a game. Easy. Easy. This is a great system. This is literally the Hawkeyes on steroids, y'all. Seriously. This is arguably a better roster than the Fever had in 2024. Because Tammy Fagbenle was smacking layups off the glass. Wide open layups. Caitlin throwing her perfect passes, Tammy Fat Bentley smacking them off the glass wide open. Right? So, yeah, Tammy could run fast, but she couldn't make, it was like she couldn't make a layup. Point blank layup, she's smacking them off the glass. Right? So, arguably, you could say, yeah, this is a better roster in 2024. Seriously, it is. And so, like, that's the problem is defense, zone defense, matchup zones, hybrid zones, zone woman-to-woman principles. Boom, you're good. You're good, okay? If you're playing a trash team on offense, then you could flirt with woman-to-woman defense, switch everything. Then that makes sense. But if you're playing teams who are really formidable, you're playing teams who are really solid on offense, and you have several defenders out there who are not good on-ball defenders, and they can't recover good or anything like that, you got to protect them by playing zone defense. It's really, really simple stuff, okay? And that's all that it is, right? So Stephanie isn't perfect. She makes mistakes. Stephanie listened to me last season. I tagged her. So I made a video on my CFWB God channel. I tagged her. Once I made the video, I said, Stephanie, you got to switch to a 2-3. The Aces are beating you because Dana Evans is getting whatever she wants when she attacks. I said, switch to a 2-3 zone. And you're going to stop her and Asia from attacking. You're going to end up winning that game. And that's what she did. She switched to a 2-3 zone. They won those games. Neutralized Dana Evans. She couldn't slash anymore. That's literally what Stephanie did. She switched. I swear to God, I tagged her. She switched to a 2-3 zone. Right? I mean, hell, I'm the one who tagged Becky Hammond and Nikki Fargas and told them use Nalissa to attack Natasha Howard every time they're matched up against each other. Why? Because Nalissa Smith, historically, when being defended by Natasha Howard, within that matchup between those two women, Nalissa Smith owns her. She averages a damn near, 12, 13 points and 7 rebounds on Natasha Howard. Just when they're faced. So Nalissa could finish the game with 30 points, 32 points. But 13 to 15 of those points came when Natasha Howard was on her. That's historically in this league. Nalissa averages double figures and 7 to 8 rebounds on Natasha Howard. So the Fever won the first game. Why? Because they weren't feeding Nalissa Smith the basketball when Natasha Howard was defending her. So the Fever blew them out in that first game in the semifinals. So then I make a video explaining, because I love Nalissa Smith up and down and inside out. So because that's my girl and the Fever did her dirty, and that's Nalissa Smith gonna always be my girl. Okay. So I said, wait a second, let me show you something about Nalissa and Natasha. Let me break down some history for you. Nalissa owns Natasha, owns her. She averages around 12, 13 points, 7, 8 rebounds whenever being defended by Natasha. Feed Nalissa Smith the basketball anytime Natasha is on her and you'll win the game. I swear to God, she did that. It was all over with. But the Fever still could have won. It's just that she wasn't playing 2-3. I made a video saying, Stephanie, you got to switch to a 2-3. Broke it down why. She switched to a 2-3. Stopped Dana Evans from penetrating. Slow down Asia Wilson. The Fever start winning games. Like, that's what it is. You understand? So Stephanie isn't perfect. She wasn't perfect last year. Okay? And then she switched to a 2-3 and everything got better. So I'm not saying Stephanie is perfect. What I'm saying is that you can't ever say she's not a good coach because she proved it last year. One win away from the finals, with your best player played till her wheels fell off. At that time in uniform, Kelsey Mitchell played till her wheels fell off. And you still almost won that game in overtime. Like, that's what I'm saying. So you can never say she's not a good coach. If you're saying she's not a good coach, you're just hating. You're just hating. And maybe you should just get it off your chest and just say, I hate Stephanie White. I'm a hater and I'm hating on Stephanie White. I hate her. Get it off your chest and just say it, right? Right? You can never say, well, I want Christy Sides back. Why? Because Christy let Caitlin run over her like Caitlin ran over Lisa Bluter? You're looking at the stats right now. Caitlin averages more under Stephanie than she did under Christie. And Caitlin right now would be averaging around 27 points. I swear to God. Right now, Caitlin would be averaging around 27 points per game so far this season if she were more efficient. If she were just more efficient, she would be averaging 27 points a game. This is the perfect system for her. The perfect system for her. This roster, I swear to God, is the Hawkeyes on steroids. Period. Right? And so like, that's what this is perfect for her. Perfect. And she's dealing with back issues because of golfing. That's a fact. Okay. Right. So you got back issues. So yeah, play off ball some. That's how you're able to manufacture fine rest during a game. Okay. When she's on the court. And that's what you do. Caitlin Clark is controlling that basketball the majority of the time. And sometimes she has to play off ball. That's how you're able to give her a break. That's what you're supposed to do, right? If you don't like these inverted screens with Aaliyah Boston, that's fine. But in some games they work and sometimes they don't work. But it's a nice weapon to have. It's a nice weapon to have. Inverted screens, that's a nice weapon. And it's going to allow Aaliyah Boston to evolve and grow and to get a better package and to be more of a threat. Sometimes the weapon hits and sometimes the weapon doesn't hit. You live with it, okay? But what I can tell you is that the Fever ran into 2 anomalies back to back. That's not the league, though, right? So let me show you something. Let me show you something real quick. So, yeah, we go to teams. Atlanta Dream. Matter of fact, let's just go to schedule. Yeah, I'd rather do this. So they don't play until Thursday. So they got a lot of time off to get right, to get rested, all of this stuff. And then it's a Commissioner's Cup game in ATL. Oh, no, at home. So they'll be at, at home. Okay, yeah, at home. So, yeah, they'll be well rested, man. They'll be well rested and they'll figure some things out. This isn't an anomaly on offense or defense, Carl Smesco. Now, he's more judicious with screens and cutting, okay? But, it's still European principles, a lot of ball movement, not focusing on primary scores often, judicious cutting, judicious screening. And that's sort of what it is. He'll still space you out, 5 out, 4 out, 1 in, depending on the big that's in the game. So if it's Medina Okot, 4 out, 1 in, okay, and like that's what that is. But it's 5 out, 4 out, 1 in, read and react, Euro style basketball, a lot of movement. The difference is that he's really judicious with cutting and setting screens. And, that's why his screens and cuts are some of the best in the league, because he wants them to be focused on it and to not be sloppy with cuts and screens. Very judicious. And so that's why they look so efficient, Atlanta. But, so this will be an interesting game. But Atlanta isn't Portland. They have a set system and there's a defense. There's always a defense for something traditional, like 5 out, 4 out, 1 in. Okay. And Carl Smesco is going to run 5 out. He's going to run 4 out, run in. He's going to run motion. That's what he's going to do. Okay. There's always a defense for that. So the Fever won't be facing an anomaly. It will be about efficiency on the offensive end, and on defense, Aaliyah Boston shouldn't have a hard time defending Angel Reese. We know how Angel is going to shoot it. She just shot terribly, 42% the other night against Portland, 42%. What was she, 6 of 14, 42%, I believe. And, so like, that's what that was. So, you're good. You're good, right? I think she was 6 of 14, I think, or something like that. Anyway, she was under 50% against Portland. She was under 50%. That's not good for a big. A big is supposed to be well over 50%. Angel was under 40%. I think she was anywhere. I think she shot 47 or 42%. Something like that she was. I forget. But I know she was under 50%. And so I'm not worried about Angel Reese. The rebounding, the defense, absolutely. Hustle plays, sure, that's Angel Reese all day. Efficiency, I'm not worried about Angel Reese being defended by Aaliyah Boston. Now, maybe Monique Billings will get bullied a little bit by Angel Reese because Angel Reese will outwork Monique Billings. Angel Reese will outwork Michaela Timpson. But I think Aaliyah Boston will do fine against Angel Reese. I'm not worried about Angel Reese. The concern is Lexi Hall falling for every snatchback that ever existed. And Sophie Cunningham being just an average defender. She's a great hustle player, but she's an average defender. Kelsey Mitchell being a below average defender. Caitlin Clark, a below average defender. Right? Like, that's the real concern, is the defense. Now, individual defense on Aaliyah Boston with Michaela, with Aaliyah, I'm not concerned. Okay? I'm not concerned. It's just that when you're talking about Ryan Howard, you're talking about Alicia Gray and leaving Tahina Pow open and Jordan Canada, and then it becomes problematic, especially if Bree Jones makes her way back. It's really going to be a problem. Okay? And then Medina Okot will potentially eat off of Aaliyah Boston. That's also dangerous. So the problem, I'm not worried about offense. If the Fever are efficient, the Fever are going to put up big numbers. The problem is the defense. So just switch to a matchup zone. It's simple. If Stephanie White is sticking with woman to woman, switch everything, Stephanie is going to find herself in trouble. And I mean, the Fever will have to be in shootouts. And you won't win a shootout if you're missing shots. Right? And so, like, that's what it is. So I'm not worried about the Fever with Atlanta. They'll be well rested. It's a home game. The only issue is defense. Switch to a matchup zone defense. You're good to go. You're good to go, right? You'll end up winning that game. Obviously, Atlanta, you could score on the zone, but Atlanta will blow you out if you're doing woman-to-woman defense. If you're doing woman-to-woman, switch everything, they're going to blow you out. But if you do a matchup zone with woman-to-woman principles, it won't be a blowout, and you're probably going to win that game if you're efficient on offense. So I'm not worried about, if you look at this schedule, I'm not worried about New York. Can New York out-rebound the Fever? Sure. Tall players. If they're hungry for it, it can happen. But they're not an anomaly. They're beatable. Okay? They're beatable. If the Fever are hot on offense, they're going to beat New York. Okay? They're going to beat New York. If the Fever are hot on offense. The problem is defense. So, once again, zone defense, matchup zones. Yeah, Washington got them the first time around. Okay? They got them the first time around, but it wasn't like they blew them out. It was a close game. It went into overtime. Okay? So, yeah. Same thing with the Fever. Matchup zone defense, woman-to-woman principles. You're good. If you're efficient on offense, you're probably going to beat the Mystics, potentially. Okay? Chicago, on paper, the best roster in the league. They got too many injuries, and their defense is missing. It got better last game, but their defense is missing. And so they can't put it together. They have games where they're putting up a bunch of points, and the defense is pure trash. Then they got games where the defense is good, and they're not putting up a bunch of points. So they haven't put it together, plus they're missing so many players. Okay, and then Rachel Banham is really hurting them with her poor defense. She's hurting them and her inefficiency. She did better last game, but so like that's what's going on. But on paper, they have the best roster. They're definitely a paper tiger. They have a face card. All right, they have a face card. It's just that they're a bit fuzzy upstairs right now, right? The beautiful girl fuzzy upstairs. The handsome man, fuzzy upstairs, right? So the Chicago Sky got a face card. They're just fuzzy. And so, like, that's what's going on. So, yeah, could the Fever win this game? 100%. 100%. Okay, 100%, right? So, problem is defense, but they could totally win this game. Same with Connecticut. Connecticut just had a big win against LA, but the Fever could win this game. Like, just look at it. I mean, listen, Kiki Rice, to me, is the front runner for Rookie of the Year. To me, she's the front runner for Rookie of the Year. But, yeah, you can see them. If Toronto isn't hot making those threes, the Fever could run away with this game. Okay, back to Atlanta again. Phoenix, 4 out, 1 in, 5 out. They're playing bad basketball right now because Alyssa Thomas is holding them back. And like, that's what it is. Remember, numbers do lie. It's called inflation. Numbers do lie. And I don't care what she's putting up. She's holding them back because she's not dynamic enough to run a 5 out or 4 out, 1 in to make you play on your heels. And so because you know she's predictable, you know she's not a threat to shoot a 3. And so you can play drop coverage, okay, all of the time. And, you know, you can play a 2-3 zone if you wanted to because she's not a threat at all. She's not going to shoot the 3. She can't shoot a mid-range shot. And if she does, it's a push shot with very little efficiency. And so her job is to get downhill and kick, paint and spray, kick to the perimeter, or look for a cutter. And that's what she's going to do, or go up for the layup and get fouled or make the layup. She's very predictable. And so because she's so predictable, teams are not collapsing. So that whole gravity thing, they're not collapsing anymore. Okay. So it's like the run game in football. Okay. Keep running the football with success. They have to stack the box. Once they stack the box, extra defenders in the box, you can hit them with a play action, fake like you're about to hand a football off. Quarterback turns around, takes a deep shot down the field, touchdown. Those are the threes, right? The deep bomb, the deep pass, that's the 3 in football, right? Running the football, okay, is the equivalent. It's the same thing as attacking the paint. If you're successful in the paint, then you have to protect the paint. That leaves openings on the perimeter for threes. That's called a paint and spray or drive and kick, okay? In football, if you run the football, they stack the box. They bring extra defenders in the box, okay? They bring their safeties lower, okay? Their cornerbacks start to press a little bit. And that's what it is because they're all looking to stop the run. You fake like you're about to run it, turn around and pass it. You got a deep shot down the field, all kind of space open, intermediate, in the middle, play action pass. So with Phoenix, they're running the football with Alyssa Thomas. She's their star running back. And her job is to run, and make them collapse. That's called, you call it gravity. They collapse. Soon as she see them collapse, she'll kick it to the corner or to the wing for a 3, or she'll look for a cutter, either with a dive cut or 45-degree cut. And that's what she's doing. Well, now they're not collapsing on her anymore. And they all learned this from watching Vegas. So what Vegas was doing, Vegas just kept grabbing at the basketball. Whenever she drove, they would grab at the basketball. So now teams aren't collapsing. And so they don't have these opportunities for these open threes, okay? And so they're running into trouble. So she can have 20 points and 10 assists, but if you look at the game, they lost the game. Why? Because it wasn't there as much as it was when teams were collapsing. They're not collapsing anymore. And so that's the issue where she's too predictable. So he's letting her run the team. He's not the coach. She's the coach. Why? Because all you have to do is start Akua Makani. You could start Akua Makani. You could start Kiana Williams. Any one of those guards is a better option than Alyssa Thomas. Why? Because they are a threat. They are a threat to shoot from the perimeter, to shoot mid-range. And it makes your 5 out and you're 4 out, 1 in, more dynamic, more explosive, more agile. You're less predictable, right? But he doesn't want to do that, and that's called roster politics. That's called player bias. You're cutting your nose off to spite your face. You're a detriment to your own self. Alyssa Thomas is why they're 2-7. She's too predictable. So anyway, so if you look at the schedule, the Fever are nice. I mean, Kennedy Carter is just, and like she said, just take the leash off, and it is what it is. Now, listen, Kennedy, listen, sometimes, like they say, stay off of social media. She got to be careful, but she let that AZ stuff get to her, but you can't stop. And it's true. There's no one on the Aces roster better than Kennedy Carter. They can't. There's no one, period. No one. There's no one. Off the bench, she could win MVP coming off the bench and 6th Woman of the Year and Most Improved. Okay? Like, she's literally their best player. It's not even close, right? So, yeah, take the leash off. Take the leash off, because there's no one she should be starting, but they're playing contract politics because they paid Jackie Young so much money. They paid Jewel Lloyd all of this money. And because they did that, they're playing contract politics, okay, which is also now roster politics. And so they're making Kennedy come off the bench when it's clear she's the best player on the team. It's not even close, right? And so, that's what that is. And so, yeah, I mean, listen, stay off of social media right now. Stay focused, because you already know the narratives, and these people are thirsty. They see you as low-hanging fruit. They never watched you before. They just heard about you in 2024 after you pushed Caitlyn. And it was like, yeah, we've heard she's a toxic player. She's a locker room cancer and all of this stuff, when that's not the truth. But because those things is following you, you got to be careful. So just stay off of social media for right now. I mean, IG stories is great. If there's a nice little pic you want to share on IG, share that pic. Okay? But you talking about Threads and Twitter, you might want to stay off of it. Okay? You might want to stay off of it for right now. Because you are an alpha woman, and you have your pride. You have a lot of pride. You're a prideful woman, and you're an alpha woman. And AZ Fug seeming like she was cooking you, chopping you up, and you you ran to Threads and expressed yourself. And now everyone is running with these narratives again, okay? Because they see you as low-hanging fruit. So you got to be smarter than that. You have to be smarter than that, right? So anyway, but all of these, look at the Fever, man. Except when you get to the Aces. And I say that only because the whistle Asia is going to get, and Nalissa is going to cook Monique Billings. So, and then Kennedy is going to destroy anyone trying to defend her. So that's a problem. So yeah, the Aces are problematic. Golden State, you can make an argument for New York. But the Fever, and then, Portland, and then Minnesota when they get Nafisa back. But I mean, the Fever looking lovely. Yeah, Dallas is going to be difficult. So you want to, yeah, but you can clearly see the Fever are going to make the playoffs if everyone stays healthy. That's clear. If the Fever stays healthy or relatively healthy, the Fever, they'll be the 7th or 8th seed. Yeah, that's pretty clear. But yeah. But if they start going through these injuries, they're in trouble. Now, I do want to say this. I'm only saying this if Stephanie White listens to me and start doing matchup zones. If Stephanie White isn't going to do matchup zones, and she's going to keep running with woman-to-woman defense, switch everything a lot of times, she can be in a lot of trouble, because that's what's getting Tyler Marsh. He's doing too much woman-to-woman defense, and it's getting him. Yeah, he'll see some matchup zones here and there, but he's doing a lot of woman-to-woman, and it's hurting him. And so Stephanie White. It's way too much woman to woman. And they brought that stuff over from the NBA. It's too much woman to woman switch everything. And if she could find some balance, then yeah, the Fever, they're 6, 7, 8. But if she's going to be stubborn and stick to the woman to woman, the Fever could be in trouble. Okay? They can be in trouble. No matter what type of points they're putting up, they could be in some trouble. So, yeah. Anyway, that's really what I got to say about it. I just wanted to provide some clarity to the situation. I know it probably seemed like I was going to bash Caitlyn. I just wanted to give a history lesson. That's what I wanted to do. Give a nice little history lesson and let you know Stephanie isn't a bad coach. And like, she's not perfect. It's clear her system on defense isn't working, so she can grow. But this offense is elite. It just is. They're number one in the league in pace. They're one of the top teams in scoring. Their problem is defense. And Caitlyn's only problem is efficiency. Okay? I'm speaking about offense right now. Just think about this. She doesn't even have all of her packages yet. And she's averaging over 20 points per game. I want you to consider that. And sometimes the godsends, they struggle. And they go through a lot of controversy. And they go through some downfalls and some setbacks. But then the godsends always make it out because they were sent to do a job by God. And that's to take something to the next level. You know, Caitlyn is a godsend. Sometimes I think she's a Satan sin, but she's a godsend. And right now, she's going through a lot of bad stuff right now. But it happened to Michael Jordan. Y'all. People hated him in the NBA. Jealousy froze him out of the All-Star game. Tried to hurt him on a court on purpose. Then he started saying Republicans buy sneakers too, buy shoes too. And it hurt him with black people and Democrats. Michael went through a lot. He also was labeled selfish, a ball hog, not a team player. And, he famously said, yeah, there's no I in team, but there is an I in win. So he had his issues, punched his teammate in the eye. Steve Kerr blacked his eye. Michael had issues. He wasn't perfect. Michael had issues, y'all. He had issues. Okay. But he was a godsend. And now because of Michael Jordan, look at what happened to the NBA, right? And so that happened in football. We had godsends in football that took football to the next level, completely changed football forever. Okay. We had that in the NBA. We got that in the NFL. We had godsends that came to Major League Baseball. We had godsends that came to the NHL. We had godsends that came to soccer or football. Like, that's what it is. And in the WNBA, we have a godsend. And she's going through some things. She's not perfect right now. Okay? And she's still averaging almost 21 points a game. And she doesn't even have her full packages yet. Okay? So just think about that. Once Caitlyn starts getting her more packs, she's going to go down as the greatest scorer ever. Ever. Right? And so that's what this is. She's not perfect. Michael Jordan came in and was murdering everyone his rookie year, but he wasn't perfect. And then he got better and better, and he's the greatest ever, right? And so, like, that's what that is. So Caitlyn is missing things, right? She's missing the packs that move forward, right? She needs to be more creative, getting to the rim or getting to the mid-range area. Go-tos and counters and being able to chop people up and put them on skates. That's got to happen, okay? Slashing moves, more slashing moves. That's got to happen. A shot at the rim package, a better layup package. That's got to happen, okay? And then on defense, she got to get them packs on defense too, an on-ball pack, right? A low post pack, just in case. She got to match up against a small forward, a wing. And then wing want to take her into the low post. She got to get her a low post pack and she got to get an on-ball pack. She already got a help defense pack. She got a probing pack. So she a good prober. And she got a help defense pack. She a ball hawk, right? So she got that. I've been saying that since Iowa. She was always an elite help defender. She been like that. So she got that weak side probing help defensive pack. She got that. She need an on-ball pack and she need a low post pack, right? An interior pack, because you never know who you'll be switched on and they might try to exploit you. So once she get that right and she get her a going to the basket pack, a slashing pack, a put you on skates pack going forward, shots at the rim pack, layup pack, she don't even have that, and she's getting you damn near 21 a game. Imagine when she get these packages. She'll be the greatest ever. Like, the rebounding package is already there. The assist is there. She got to turn down them turnovers, get it from 5 to 3.8. To get that thing from 5.3, I think she had 5.3, 5.6. Turn that down to like 3.8 and get her these packs she missing, or most of these packs she missing. That chick going out the greatest player ever. Like, that's gonna happen. You understand? But that's gonna require her to do some things she don't want to do, like in the off season, go play overseas basketball, right? Instead of filming commercials and playing golf. You might want to go overseas. You might want to go to Athletes Unlimited for 4 weeks. Something to improve your game, to add layers to your game. Because if you keep coming back to the W with the same stuff, then you'll finish your career probably averaging 18 points, 17. I'm going to say she'll finish her career at 17 points. 17 points. I would say she'll finish her career with 17 points, 7 to 8 assists a game, 1 steal. Finish her career with 4.8 turnovers per game. Finish her career averaging about 4 to 5 rebounds. Career free throw percentage in the 80s. Career 3-point percentage in the mid to low 30s. And career field goal percentage in the high 30s or the low 40s. And that would be her career. 17 points, 7 to 8 assists, 4 to 5 rebounds, 1 steal, in the high 80s free throw, low 30s 3-point percentage, and low 40s or high 30s field goal percentage. That would be Caitlin. And if she finishes without a championship, then you would have to say, man, she did some great things. You're talking about 17 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal. That's a great career. She's gonna go to the Hall of Fame with those numbers. But you would say, damn, she could have been so much more had she had added different layers to her game. And she kept coming back kind of with the same packages. It's like she never added really anything new. And so the league kind of just caught on to her. She was so good at what she could do well that she averaged 17-8 or 18-8 for her career. But she never won a chip. She never won a chip. And like, that's what that was. And so if you don't want to be that, Caitlin, you need to go overseas in the off season. And that when you overseas, you get to work on things you can't work on in the WNBA because the season is going, right? So that means you can drive to the basket and work on adjustment layups. You got to stop being scared to fly. I saw you touch the rim 2 times. I saw you touch it against Holy Cross, and I saw you touch it in the WNBA. Chick, you could jump, okay? So when you're 6 feet and you could touch the rim, you got to stop being afraid of flying, of the air. And so you have to make adjustments mid-air when your shot is being defended, when it's being contested at the rim. You go up for a layup and defender jump vertical, arms straight up vertical. Guess what, Caitlin? You have to make an adjustment in the air. You have to become creative in the air. You have to stop being afraid to fly. The fear of flying. There's a book written about it. The fear of, it's not about like actually flying in the air. It's about people afraid to live out their true dreams. People are afraid of success. And so there's this fear of flying. So in the air and basketball, you have a fear of flying. So once you get over that, you can go overseas and work on adjustment layups. You can go overseas and work on shots at the rim. That's teardrops. That's floaters. Okay? You can work on these things. Close shots. You can start working on slashing moves overseas. You could work on runners overseas. You could work on leaners overseas, right? You could work on interior defense more overseas. All of these things you can do. You can get your skate package right. You can start chopping chicks down going forward. All of that you can work on overseas, Caitlin. All of that. And then you come back to the league. It's like, damn, boy, Caitlin out here shifty. It's like that chick chopping chicks down. That chick chopping them down. Oh, that's crazy. Caitlin did a clutch into a reverse layup. That chick went up on the right side of the rim. BG jumped in the air with her. She clutched it and then went to the other side with the left hand. That chick did a clutch reverse. Yo, that's crazy. Asia Wilson jumped with her at the layup and Caitlin did a double clutch and caught Asia. That's crazy. Right? So like all of that. And you can work on some jellies too. Jellies matter. Right? Like all of that. But you can do all of that. You can get all of that out of your system overseas. Right? That's what Megan did. That's why Megan got a 3. That's why Megan could hurt you a little bit on the perimeter with a little dribble move. Right? She had to go overseas to get that perimeter package. So that's what you do. You go overseas and you build packages. And you come back to the league with all these packs. And then boom, you're ready to go. But if you're not going to do that, because you're so great at facilitating and scoring what you do good at, yeah, you'll finish your career 17, 18 points, 7 to 8 assists. That's going to happen. But you might finish your career without a championship. And so at that point, yeah, you'll make the Hall of Fame. But people will say, man, she had a great career, but it could have been so much more. It could have been so much more. And, you know, you'll leave with millions of dollars, but you'll also leave with some regret. That's only if you love basketball. If you don't love basketball, you don't have any regrets. But if you love basketball, you'll leave with some regrets and you'll say, man, if I had just participated in off-season basketball to work on my game even more, man, I could have done this. I could have done that. I could have won probably 3 championships or more. And so that's what it is. But we're seeing it with Lexi. Lexi chased the money and went to Unrivaled for 2 years and didn't get better. You understand? She didn't get better. Now I know you can say, well, the 3-point percentage actually got better. Yeah, but Lexi is supposed to be averaging 12 points and getting 4 or 5 rebounds with 2 steals and 1 block shot. That's Lexi. That's not Lexi right now. That hasn't been Lexi for 2 years. The 3-point percentage picked up, but that's not Lexi. Lexi isn't in double figures. Why? Because she decided to chase money in Unrivaled, and Unrivaled has nothing transferable to 5x5 basketball professionally. Outside of learning how to defend in space and outside of maybe developing you an ISO package, but that's it. There's nothing like transferable to the WNBA from Unrivaled. It's a joke, right? And so like that's what that is. And so Lexi chased money. Lexi's still basic in many ways. Now, I'm not saying she can't get hot. And I'm not saying she's not going to do what she does, which is she's going to out-hustle you often. She couldn't out-hustle Portland, but she's going to most likely out-hustle you. So you'll see games where Lexi will look nice, but Lexi could be so much better if she played real off-season basketball. But she chased money. Aaliyah Boston chased this money instead of going overseas, instead of playing instead of Athletes Unlimited. Aaliyah Boston chased that unrivaled money. Lexi Hall, instead of going to Athletes Unlimited again or going overseas, Lexi Hall chased that unrivaled money. And things in unrivaled are not transferable to the WNBA. It just isn't. Right? Sophie Cunningham doesn't play off-season basketball anymore. She used to play. She doesn't play it anymore. And so there's that. And so like that's what it is. Kelsey Mitchell is thinking about getting money. She all about the vault. She trying to get to the vault, from Unrivaled to China to Project B. Her mind is in different places. She's thinking about, I have to stay healthy for Project B. So she's not playing her best right now, even though this offense is having her to put up a lot of points. She could be so much better, but she's thinking about Project B because that's where the real money is. The minimum Project B is paying is 2 M's. They're paying 2 M's. That's the minimum salary. It's 2 M's, $2 million. And they just signed Layla Lacan, right? So Kelsey isn't making 2 M's, y'all. Kelsey is probably making 3 M's. 3 M's to 1.4? Nah. Like, no, we ain't doing that. I'm going to hoop, but I'm really trying to protect myself for Project B because that's where the 3 M's are. It's the same with Sophie. Sophie could be so much better, but Sophie is thinking about those 2 M's. Sophie getting 2 M's with Project B. So her mind is in different places right now. Their mind is elsewhere. It's not really focused on the W. It's not really focused on the W. And when it's like that, you'll find yourself and it makes your coach's jobs difficult. Sophie is thinking about her podcast. She's thinking about commercials, endorsement deals, and trying to stay healthy to make them 2 M's in Project B. Lexi Hall is thinking about her new volleyball team. She's a co-owner of a professional volleyball team. She's thinking about her setting spray, Forta. She's thinking about this money and Unrivaled and all of this brand. Lexi Hall mind is in other places, right? Kelsey Mitchell, her mind is in freaking Project B. That's where her mind is. 3 M's. Their mind is in other places. And it's not really focused on basketball, the mission. You ladies, you're at war. When this WNBA season is here, it's war. This is war. And every game is a battle. And the ultimate goal is to win the war. That means you got to win the championship. If you don't win the championship, you lost the war. You can't think about Project B. You can't be thinking about Unrivaled, Forta, volleyball, podcasts. You can't think about those things. You got to think about these battles. Ladies, you're at war. You're at war. And your commander was used to be a soldier and a very successful soldier. Right? And then you got another one in Breon January. She was very successful. You got 2 other ones who been in your shoes and won. Karima and Tully. They're just trying to help you. They're not trying to hurt you. Like, and so all you got to do is just be pliable, coachable, pliable. And you'll get to where you ultimately want to be. But if you're going to keep resisting, you're going to find problems. And if you don't correct things, it's the universe will respond in kind, right? What you put out to the universe, it gives you right back, right? They say God don't like ugly. So God keeps seeing you cussing out your coaches, besmirching them, being disrespectful. God might turn his favor away from you. You're a godsend for sure. God sent you to elevate women's sports, to this league and women's sports. And that's what you've done, but it could be so much better. He can also take it away from you. That's a scripture in your Bible. He said, I'll snuff out your candle. I'll snuff out your candlelight. I'll snuff it out. I'll take it away and give it to someone else. So like that's why I remember I made the video saying a face of the W vacuum. If you're not careful, people are finding new loves. They found a new love in Carla Lake. They found a new love in Sarah Ashley Barker. They're finding new loves with Veronica Burton and Janelle Saloon. And they're finding new loves in Kiki Rice and Gabriela Jaquez and AZ Fudd and Paige and all of these people they're finding all of these new loves. Okay? Y'all call it faves, I call it loves. And that's what it is. So you got to be careful because that's literally in your Bible. Where he says, I'll snuff out your candle. I'll snuff it out. And you got to be, you a godsend, but God could take it away from you and give it to someone else. So you got to be careful with that, right? So get control of yourself. Be respectful. And trust these women because they've won championships, right? You trust Stephanie because she proved that she can coach last year. If there was any time for Stephanie to prove it, she proved it last year. And just trust it. You are averaging almost 21 points a game and you're inefficient. What if you were efficient? You would be averaging around 30 a game. This is a perfect system for you. Perfect. Just be pliable. Be pliable. That's it. And take care of yourself in the off season. Right? Like that's what I gotta say about it. Anyway, let me get up out of here. All praise be to my creator. All praise be to my creator. That's it. Let's finish it. I play husband because I'm taking care of my wife. I'm taking care of my woman. And that's women's basketball. And I got to clear some things up. So that's what a husband is supposed to do. I'm taking care of my woman. I'm taking care of my woman. And that's what that is.
Neighbors know this shit get out of hand, but they smile, 'cause you've been so long without a man. And it won't be long till you're out of pants. The only thing you really need is a husband. The only thing you really need is a husband. The only thought you ever need is I trust him. All your dreams, all your goals, it's promised with this ring I have in my hands. The main thing a nigga got is these plans. Got a plan for us, got a plan to grow, got a plan for homes, got a plan for bad times, got a plan for good times, got a plan for hood times, got a plan for hood crimes, got a plan for trust, got a plan for lust, got a plan for Beverly Hills. You know that's where they at. You know that's where they at. Beverly Hills. You know that's where they at. I don't really wanna go back to that. If I do, I know I'm going back to back. Breaking backs to backs. Imagine that, that's so hazardous, so I handle that. All you really need is a husband. Show you loving. Let him touch you, let him rub you, let him hug you, let him thug you, let him hold you down. All you need is a husband who gon' touch you, who gon' rub you, who gon' hug you, who gon' kiss you, who gon' miss you with no issue, with no issue.